Hey everyone. So I've decided to put a mini series together. This is actually gonna be the first of our three-part mini series. More to come eventually, of course. So basically, I want to start doing little mini educational seminars, roughly 3 to 5 minutes each. Nothing too crazy, just to give you guys a better understanding of what's going on with the human body, specifically with this seminar, what's going on with the brain. I know things are complex, so we try to break it down as much as possible so that everybody could understand to their better knowledge, of course. So, basically, what this three-part mini-series is going to consist of is neural pathways, neurotransmitters, as well. On the third day, I'll be talking about specific neurological disorder. I'm not going to discuss in detail today or give you an idea of what it is. On the third day, I am actually going to pick randomly of which one to choose. So stay tuned. So for today, let's just focus on neural pathways and why it's important, or why they're important as such. So what exactly is a neural pathway? A neural pathway is a series of neurons. So what's a neuron? A neuron is made up of dendrites and axons. So basically, these dendrites and axons are what transmit our information or messages from one neuron to another, so one cell body to another, one cell to another cell. So it's basically the dendrite that receives the information, passes it through our cell body. The axon takes the information, transmits it through other neurons. So these neurons are connected together to enable a signal, to be sent from the one brain region to another and down through the rest of the body. So as such, the spinal cord is connected to the brain. So it is the brain that takes in all the information, sends the signals down to the spinal cord, and the spinal cord delivers the information to the rest of our working bodies, our muscles, our tissues, and our organs. So as such, the neural pathways are a single or a bundle of nerve fibers known as tracts, and that's what makes up the neural pathway. The neural pathway then connects distant areas of the brain known as white matter. We also have gray matter, what is also called as neurotransmitters, and it's these neurotransmitters, which of course we will explain in the following video tomorrow. These are neurotransmitters. Are examples of shorter neural pathways. Sorry if I'm talking a little fast. I just want to try and get as much done as well today, so that you get the basis and better understanding of what a neurotransmitter is tomorrow. So here's a fun fact. The longest axon in the body is the sciatic nerve, right? So our sciatic nerve runs from the big toe all the way to the base of our spinal cord. What's fascinating about the neural pathways is that we actually have the ability to change our own neural pathways either positively or negatively. Being said is the way we perceive pain and emotions, how we react to stressful situations, how we feel when we digest, and other, of course, activities and behaviors. So our brain is made of 1,000 cells, made of billions of neurons. These are neurons and cells actually help us learn these new activities and these new behaviors. So we learn these new behaviors with everything we do, right? Whether it's speaking to someone, learning a new language, typing on the keyboard, playing hockey, playing soccer, any type of sport, riding a bike, and the list could go on and on. So basically anything that stimulates our brain cells, our nervous system, to something new, right? Okay. So these new pathways get stored, and they get stored as memory, either long-term or short-term memory. I wasn't really planning on talking about this phenomenon or concept, but basically the concept of how we perceive pain and how we perceive emotions is still a complex and still an interesting concept we should know, because they still play a part in our neuroplasticity, which I'll talk more a bit after, what exactly neuroplasticity is, and they also play or have an impact on our neurotransmitters as well. So now when this person enters their car, they're always going to be on what we call pins and needles, thinking who's going to be the one to hit me next. So automatically, subconsciously, they're going to be tensing up their neck and their shoulders. That, if we think posturally, elevates their rib cage. So this sore neck and the sore shoulder, for chronic pains, of course, may not be due to a present accident, but it could be due to a past accident that's been lingering for months on end. And why has it been months later that this pain is still lingering is because subconsciously the pain is still there. The mind keeps remembering, the brain keeps remembering what happened at the moment of the impact. So interestingly enough, there has been some research that shows most chronic pain isn't actually due to physical pain, but rather the way our neural pathways perceive the information. This actual concept is called somatic pain, which will be discussed a little bit further. So, how is this possible that our brain can't actually be, or sorry, our body isn't actually hurting or feel pain if there's nothing actually physically done to it? That's because our brain can, like I mentioned before, our brain can store new activities, new behaviors, but it also remembers what happens when we feel pain. So we'll take a car crash for example. Say you get hit or rear-ended from behind and you have a whiplash with your neck. What happens is that you end up getting a sore neck, probably sore shoulders, headaches. For some people, this pain actually is immediate and gets subsided within a couple of days, but others, it actually becomes chronic months later. This chronic pain hasn't gone away only because the body remembers what happened at that moment of the crash. And when that crash had happened, the body was sending signals to the brain saying this is a dangerous impact that's about to happen. So the body automatically has to protect itself when bracing itself towards the impact. So once we develop a dangerous impact, it actually creates a dangerous neural pathway in the brain, in the rest of the body. So the body stores that as a dangerous effect. So this concept can be explained in a much simpler way, and in probably just one sentence, is that your body perceives physical pain, and it can generate pain even though the injury hasn't occurred. So example, when you stub your foot on a nail, you see that the nail goes through your shoe, but doesn't actually hit any toes or any part of your foot. It actually goes right through your feet, but you actually thought it was painful because of what happened prior to maybe stubbing your foot multiple times before. I could even give you an example, is that when I was playing soccer, I ran my foot right into the ground, and I actually thought I tore broke my tibia bone the way I landed my foot into the ground. And when I looked at my foot, I actually thought to myself, well, I actually just screamed for nothing because nothing actually happened. I just sprained my ankle more than my tibia coming out of my knee. So that was my perceived reaction, that I already felt the pain before it even happened. Okay. So that just brings us down to what neuroplasticity means, right? So neuroplasticity is the way the body adapts to new changes, new life experiences, emotions, stress in general. And if you want to take it medically, the medical term of neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to recognize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. Neuroplasticity allows the neurons, or the nerve cells, in the brains to compensate for injury and disease and to adjust their activities in response to new situations or to changes in their environment. Right? So you feel tired or stressed, your body's gonna keep that emotion inside, and it's gonna you'll actually adapt to that stress. Now, we don't want to have prolonged stress, of course, because then that leads to other complications, but we'll just stick to the basics right now. So neuroplasticity, emotions greatly affect our neurons in our cells, like I just mentioned. And it's funny because emotions can actually change the cellular structure and how information is perceived. That being said, it actually affects our neurotransmitters as well. There was a study done in 2007 by PhD Young, that those that had more of a positive outlook will outlive those that are more negative by 10 years. So in a way, if you're actually changing your neural pathways to be positive, then you're actually living longer than the ones that are actually being negative. All right, so just keep that in mind. Another thing to keep in mind is that when you're stressed or when you're sad, right, we often resort to food. Well, for those that are trying to lose the weight, 75% of overeating is actually due to emotions. So if you can control your own emotions, you could actually control your own weight without actually having to do stressful diets. So we'll take sadness or just sad in general as an example for neuroplasticity, an emotion that has an effect on the body, right? So if you're sad, most people are already going to be an inward shoulder posture. That's going to affect our humor, major influence on major pain receptors. It actually affects our neurotransmitter serotonin, and serotonin is what generates or allows you to understand what the pain is in the body. Sadness also decreases serotonin and elevates our cortisol. So our cortisol is our stress level, our stress hormones. These both affect our motivation, our libido, and for women, premenstrual issues as well. Okay, so be as happy as you can be. All right, serotonin is our neurotransmitter, and obviously I'm gonna continue. I'm gonna go over that tomorrow, but just to keep in mind that serotonin equals mood and it equals our emotions. So if your emotions are off, serotonin is gonna be off. So how can we help ourselves change our own neural pathways? It's hard because 95% of our thoughts is subconsciously. So we're always thinking. There's 70,000 thoughts that run through our mind, even though we don't even remember probably 10,000 of those thoughts. But what we could do is actually listen to classical music or listen to alpha waves. Go on YouTube, click in alpha waves. Those rhythms actually help with the alpha waves in our brains to feel better as well. Even though it may seem so petty, I guess you could say, of lack of terminal verbs, but I do this myself as when I'm writing stuff or when I'm trying to study. Alpha waves, best thing I resort myself with. And they also help. There has been studies that show that these classical musicals or alpha waves, brain waves and all that, they actually make your brain more concentrated on basically make you more focused on what you're doing. All right. Another great way you could boost your neural pathways or change your neural pathways is through meditation. And there has been studies that show that meditation can help increase IQ, increase learning abilities, and relieve stress as well. So I found something pretty interesting, giving you some extras here, how we can actually remember things. So there's a saying that we say in neurotherapy that if you don't use it, you lose it. So it goes the same way with when you learn something new. If you don't put what you learn into practice, or if you don't keep saying what you've learned, or teaching someone else what you've learned into practice, then you end up losing it. After about an hour of what we've learned, we actually lose half of the information that was given to us. And after a day, we only take in 30% of what we've learned the day before. So here are 4 tips that you can keep that can help you store information more quickly, more in your short-term memory. So basically, repeat the info the second you hear it or read it. All right. Then you can repeat the information 15 to 20 minutes later. Obviously, don't just stay stuck on your work your focus, your studies that you're on for 20 minutes. Go do something else and then repeat what you've learned, something that was relevant that you learned before. Go back and say it again. Then number 3 would be repeat the information 6 to 8 hours later, and repeat the information 24 hours later. So that's what's gonna help for short-term memory. Long-term memory, you're gonna repeat after learning, same thing like before with short-term memory, but then you're gonna repeat after 20 to 30 minutes. And then if you want to keep it stuck in your long-term memory, repeat it a day later, repeat it 2 to 3 weeks later, and then repeat that same information 2 to 3 months later. So basically, if you repeat it more often, the brain will think that it is necessary and will be forced to remember it for longer periods of time. I hope you guys wrote that down, and I hope you've taken in some notes as well for the little seminar I just gave you guys. Went a little bit overboard, but it's okay. I might talk more than I actually think. So I'll be with you guys again tomorrow. We'll go through what exactly neurotransmitters are, what they do with the body, and how they affect neurological diseases for the third day. Have a good day, guys.